device. Alexa, play Radio St. George. You're welcome.
Non-commercial quality music. Intelligent conversation. Radio St. George at 100.3 FM.
Good morning and welcome to KDXI St. George, Radio St. George at 100.3 FM. It's our pleasure to present to you The Garden Show with Artie and Woody. It's time to find out, how does your garden grow? Here are your hosts for The Garden Show, Artie and Woody.
All right, folks, how are you? Welcome to the Fun and Garden Show starring Woody.
Good morning, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Woody. How are you?
I think we're on the wrong channel.
Channel.
Yeah, it said intelligent conversation.
I was thinking that myself. I was like, that doesn't fit me.
Yeah, maybe we can't really broadcast.
Well, hello, folks. It's time for the Fun and Garden Show on Radio St. George 100.3. We're live every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. The show is on Facebook and YouTube. Of course, we'd love to have you interact with us. You can jump on Facebook or YouTube or... Yeah, there's so many ways to contact us. You can call or text us at 435-879-4100, 435-879-4100. And Woody, we have a new feature. We have something new.
We have a brand new website.
Okay, tell us about the website.
The website is funandgarden.com, all one word, small letters, of course. funandgarden.com.
Okay.
And last weekend I was in Salt Lake and spent some time with I say young man, but a computer guru.
Okay.
That helped us set up the website, Scott Lewis, who happens to be my son-in-law.
Oh!
And he's one of these brilliant computer guys.
Uh-huh.
And we spent some time over at his work location and built the website, and it was quite an experience.
Well, hot dog, it looks great.
And I think we need to thank him for his time and efforts. He's great and wonderful.
Thank you, Scott. Okay, so what can people do at the website?
Well, at the website, we have some links to our past programs, so you can sit and watch them. And we also have an area at the bottom of each post where you can ask a question, and we'll either answer you on the web or we'll have it on the show here.
Okay.
And we have some pictures of Harvey, our pet tortoise.
Harvey is your pet tortoise.
Yeah, we got pictures of him, and we got pictures of you and I, and we've even got some garden pictures.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. It really is.
Well, wonderful. So that's funandgardenshow.com, another way to interact with us, or Facebook, or gosh, call us 435-879-4100. Oh, before we get started, I want to thank Sean Denovan. He is the instructor here at Dixie State University. We want to thank him for letting us
He's been
do this
great.
thing.
He's been absolutely great.
It's been awesome to work with. And he got us a new banner. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
The Fun and Garden Show banner.
That's for when we go out and do remote broadcasts.
Awesome.
And on
sign autographs.
On the website, there's also links to Facebook and YouTube and so on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's neat, too.
That's great. Well, okay, so what's on the show today, Woody? What's going on?
I don't know.
What are we going to talk about?
I forgot to prepare.
What?
I was so worried about the opening, I forgot to do the closing.
No!
Whoa! Just kidding. We're going to talk about building planter boxes.
Okay. Oh, and you have a couple of them.
Yeah, and they're kind of fun. This year, I've kind of gone more for the ceramic pots and containers, but there are people that enjoy and want the look of a wooden box, and you can do the thing about the building your own is that you can make them any size you want and any shape you want, and they're kind of fun, and especially if a person is a little bit handy with wood and you have some tools and things like that. So I actually looked up some material on the internet yesterday to make sure that I was correct in some of my ideas. And so we're going to talk about how we would go about doing that.
Okay.
The first thing that you want to do with a container, a wooden container, is pick some wood that does well out in the sun and with being wet and dry and wet and dry and so on.
So what do you recommend?
Well, it recommends redwood. Redwood's a little expensive. Redwood does really well, and it recommends cedar. And cedar does really well down here. And cedar's not too bad in the price range, okay? And, you can buy anything from the cedar slats that they sell for a cedar fence that are 6 feet tall, and they're usually half-inch thick, and they're rough cedar, okay? They're not a finished cedar. They're rough. And you can even go to the 2x6, 2x8, 2x10 kind of cedar that's structural, that you would build the frame out of.
Okay.
There's going to be a frame, and then there's going to be a covering.
Yeah, I was going to ask if there's some kind of a liner inside that you put.
We got to talk about the liner.
Okay.
The first thing you have to consider, well, the second thing, the wood. Let's say that we've decided to use cedar, and then the second thing we have to consider is how big do we want to make it. It recommends that they be maybe a foot deep. And you're going to go, I would say if you're going to go a foot deep, you want to go at least that wide. And then the other thing that makes a lot of difference on the stress of the structure itself is how long is it going to be? Because if you go, I would say if you hold it 3 feet or under, you can put ends in it and use the ends to anchor the sides, and it'll be strong enough to hold the dirt and so on. If you go much longer than 3 feet, then you're going to have to put a brace in the middle to hold the shape of the box.
Oh.
Because it gets heavy. The dirt is heavy enough, but then when you water it, then it's even heavier.
Now, how big is your gardens, your raised gardens?
Oh, my raised gardens are really big, but I've used cinder block to build those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, why did you choose cinder over wood or anything else?
The first ones I built out of wood, and it's quite expensive because you have to use like 2x8s, 2x10s, and I built them and they lasted 1 year. The sun down here, the water,
it's brutal.
It twisted them and it turned them, and they looked like crap, and they started coming apart. So I said, there's got to be a better way. And so I went over to a big box store and found these concrete blocks, and they're about $1.25 a piece.
Yeah.
And what I do is I make I take an area, and I'll do maybe 4 feet wide and 20 feet long, and I stack the block, and then I go back and stack a second level on it so that I can sit down and pull weeds without getting down on my hands and knees.
Sure. Oh, that's a great benefit right there in itself.
And then I buy some of their rebar, and on the corners where the blocks come together and overlap, I drive a piece of rebar down to hold them. And then on the down in the bottom of the raised garden, I put some visqueen, some plastic.
Oh, okay. Now, is that a special kind of plastic that you use, or
well,
what is that?
I just buy the black visqueen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just regular black plastic.
Yeah. And I put it down there so that not that it's protecting anything, but it's helping the water not drain out as quickly.
Okay.
Because the water's going to drain out of the block, They're not waterproof by any means.
Yeah.
And then I buy topsoil and fill them, and I put some compost in there and some peat moss, and I mix it all together. and that's what I use for my raised gardens. And then I'll take a sprinkler pipe and bring up the end and go right down the middle of the raised garden with it, and everywhere that I want a plant, like a tomato plant, then I put a tee and I put a riser and I have a bubbler.
Oh, cool.
The closer you can get the bubbler to the plant, the less water you're going to waste or go through.
Yeah.
But the type of containers we're talking about today aren't particularly for the raised beds. Those are big gardens. The type we're talking about today are the kind you would put on your patio, your front porch, your window box, those kind of containers.
Those kind of things.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right. And with those, you want to try to eliminate or to reduce the amount of water that actually lays against the container itself. The cedar is pretty good to weather well, although it will gradually, as it gets wet, it turns gray. And some people like that gray look. It looks like barnwood, and it turns very rustic.
Okay.
I like it to kind of stay the natural cedar. So if I'm going to build a box for my patio, after I get it built, I'm going to put some sealer on the outside and the inside.
Oh, yeah, decorative.
Yeah, to kind of keep the water from soaking into the wood.
Makes sense.
And then they recommend on the internet, there's a number of things you can do. They recommend using plastic inside. You can use sheet metal.
Sheet metal?
Yeah, like you can at Lowe's and Home Depot, you can buy rolls of metal that they use on roofs, and you can tack it inside your planter to keep the water from the exposing the wood on the sides and the bottom.
But that might be pricey, though, don't you think?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's pricey or not. Plastic obviously would be less.
Sure.
Yeah. And then you can take a staple gun or some tacks and tack the plastic down. You're not looking for the plastic to be watertight. You expect and you want the water to drain out of the planter. You don't want it to stay in there.
I was going to say, with that plastic, I bet it,
Yeah, it leaks. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's supposed to. In fact, they say to line the sides, put some on the bottom, and then punch holes in the bottom because you want the water to go out the bottom, okay? And then they recommend, I hadn't heard of this before, but they recommend that you take some, the shipping peanuts out of styrofoam.
Yes.
Yeah. They're saying to put a layer in the bottom of your planter of a couple of inches of those peanuts.
Now, what's that gonna help?
It takes up
How's that gonna help?
space. It takes up space. It allows the drainage to take place, and you have to buy less topsoil.
Oh, okay.
So
It's kind of like a filler.
yeah. It's like making a meatloaf and putting Rice Krispies in it. It's you save some money.
Yeah, Rice Krispies and meatloaf?
Yeah.
I haven't tried that.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Really?
Yeah. They used to use cornflakes, Rice Krispies.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So you have a secret meatloaf recipe?
That's from way back in the Depression when people had to take a pound of meat and feed 6 people.
Well, I usually use bread.
Yeah, you can use bread.
Well, okay, but the Rice Krispies, that sounds like it
does.
might work out a little bit better.
It does.
As a filler.
Yeah. So anyway, let's see, where were we? Rice Krispies.
Meatloaf.
Okay.
I'm just
Meatloaf.
still thinking about meatloaf.
Yeah.
They put ketchup on top or barbecue sauce.
Maybe I should make you a meatloaf.
Oh, sounds good.
Yeah, I do.
Onions, maybe some bell peppers.
Yeah. Throw away the meatloaf and eat the onions and bell peppers.
All right, it's the Fun Garden Show.
Fun and Garden Show at fungarden.com.
Absolutely.
Our brand new website.
We're talking about planters.
Planters. So let's say I'm going to make one for my patio, and it's going to be 3 feet long. And so then next thing I want to decide on is what shape it's going to be and how big it's going to be.
Okay.
And if I'm going to put seeds in it or starts, I think probably 8-10 inches deep with soil. If I'm going to put bulbs in it, bulbs are supposed to be planted about 6 inches down, and they're supposed to have about 4 to 5 inches of soil under them.
Lots of room.
So you're going to have to make it deeper if you're going to use bulbs.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I think maybe, I don't know, I guess you could use bulbs. I would tend to put bulbs in my garden and seeds in my container, but, The other thing that you can do is you can grow your vegetables in these containers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You can put some tomato plants in there, some pepper plants. You could do beans. You could do radishes, carrots, any of that stuff you can do. If a person, as an example, was renting an apartment or living in a smaller place and you didn't have a yard, you didn't have area to do a big garden, the planters are a way to do your own garden.
That makes sense, yeah.
It really works good.
Yeah.
You can buy tomatoes. They call them patio tomatoes.
Okay.
And the stalk and the limbs on them are actually thicker than regular tomatoes, and they're made to stand in a container without falling over.
Huh.
So they work out quite well. They don't produce the large tomatoes like some. They're more the size of a tennis ball. Mm-hmm. But if you're living in an apartment and you've got a little patio out the slider, and you have a little planter, they're just great.
Sounds
yeah.
cool. Sounds good.
You got to remember that with any kind of container, you have to water it a little more often because you get evaporation more than if the plant is buried in the ground. Okay? So then we get some topsoil and put in there. And in my mind, if I was going to do a container and maybe get as much productivity out of it as I could, it would be a long rectangle shape.
Okay.
And, maybe a foot wide and a foot deep and 3 feet long. And I'd build it out of cedar and I'd line it with plastic. And then I'd put the soil in there.
Now, would you mix fertilizer with the soil?
No, not to start with. I'd mix compost with it.
Okay.
Organic material that you buy.
So, or if you have a composter that you've been collecting leaves and trimmings and stuff.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then choose whether I want to have flowers or if I want to have vegetables, or do I want to have both?
Yeah, put the vegetables in the middle and then flowers or whatever on the outside.
I know people that plant their tomato plants out in their front garden in amongst their flowers.
Really?
And there's nothing wrong with that. It works out really well.
Huh.
And people usually don't notice them. Now your lawn chair lady that lives next door to you, she would probably come and steal your tomatoes.
I know she would.
As soon as they got red, she'd be over there picking them.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and she'd be sitting out there in her lawn chair having a bacon and tomato sandwich and watching you with the binoculars.
You know what I have coming in the mail? A taser.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah.
You're going to get her, huh?
I'm going to get a taser so I can run out and tase my lawn chair lady neighbor.
Well, if the chair is metal, tase the chair, and then they can't get you for murder.
That's
and
a
stuff.
good idea.
Yeah.
No, I like my lawn chair neighbor.
I know you do. I know. In
lawn
fact,
chair lady neighbor.
I heard a rumor that while I was gone to Salt Lake that you were seen in a Mercedes convertible with a woman driving around St. George. Is that true, Artie?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
it was a convertible, and I was
You don't do that when
we
I'm
were
in town.
We were dragging Boulevard.
Yeah, you don't do that when I'm in town because I take pictures. Was it one of our groupies that follow our show?
Yeah.
Yep, a groupie. Okay,
Definitely groupie.
yeah, I knew
We
it.
have people lined up outside the window.
For our autograph.
Yep, autographs, and people
fact,
want to
they-
take pictures with us.
Maybe they can hear them chanting.
Well, we have security out there.
They're chanting, Artie, Artie, Artie.
We have security out there making sure that people,
Behave themselves.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see, where were we? Planter boxes.
Planter boxes. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. So anyway, we got to the point where we put the dirt in them and we put some seeds, or we bought some existing type plants over at Star Nursery or Home Depot or Lowe's or someplace. By the way, they all had a lot of sales this last couple of weeks because of Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And they had a lot of hanging planters and stuff for sale that already had the petunias and different things in them.
Yeah.
So I noticed in the paper, I actually take the paper, both Lowe's and Home Depot have their bark, their decorative bark. They have different colors. They have brown, red, neutral, so on. 5 bags for $10. They both had them.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. And 5 bags is a lot of bark.
Yeah.
If you want to put it in your garden and kind of cover your garden and make it look nice, that's a good buy.
Cheaper than decorative gravel or rocks or whatever.
Yeah.
Huh.
And bark will keep the moisture in your soil.
It's a little bit better for it.
Well, it breaks down. Usually it only lasts a year, maybe 2. Or, the second year you buy a little bit of new and put on top and refresh it,
Huh.
So it's for sale this week over at both those places.
Wow.
So, or you can just come to my house and steal the bark out of my garden.
I was thinking about that.
I know you were.
But you were selling me on the bark, though.
Yeah.
You should be a bark salesperson.
A
Spokesman.
Yeah, I used to work in the forest and take the bark off the trees.
Is that what you used to do?
Yeah.
So you know how to do it.
I know how to do it.
You know how to.
I was
to
a
peel the bark.
barker.
A barker.
A barker.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a profession that you had.
Yeah, it was one. I was.
You were a part of the union, the
years
Barker
ago,
Union.
I was originally an Indian fighter. And,
Wow.
Yeah. And then
No kidding.
Yeah. Then I was a Western Union guy, and then I was a barker. And,
Wow.
And then I was a college professor.
You were part of the Pony Express, weren't you?
I was part of the Pony Express.
that's interesting.
Took care of the horses.
No way.
Yeah, defended them from the Indians.
Used to strap on the oat bags.
Oh yeah.
You were in charge of the oat bags for the horses.
Yep. Yeah, I was, and then I was a soldier at one time. Yeah,
No
I've done
kidding.
a lot of things.
Oh, you're amazing.
Yeah, and for only being 40 years old, that's pretty good.
Awesome.
Yeah. I've done a lot of things. I know a little bit about everything and not much about anything.
Right.
Oh, I tell you, you get me going.
Well, so someone asked me the other day, so Artie, are you really into gardening? It's like, no, I don't know.
Your place is looking
am
really good.
I am just the dude that runs the board. I'm just here to interact with you, to run the board, to push the buttons, because you are the expert. Because everything I plant dies. Everything I plant dies.
I think we should give out your address sometime so people can go by and see how good your yard
You've
looks.
helped me out.
I know, it's looking
you've given
really
me
good.
Tons of great advice. So.
It's looking really good.
Yeah.
And on our website, I've got some pictures of my front flower gardens and my hibiscus.
Okay.
I've got a hibiscus that's the flowers are about 8 inches across.
Oh, wow.
And I've got a picture on our website.
Fun and Garden.
Yeah, from gardens.com.
Okay.
Garden.
Oh, fun and garden.
Yeah, .com. Anyway, let's see. Well, I was fighting Indians. No, where were we before that?
Planters.
Planter boxes.
Tomatoes.
So, maybe you want to put some flowers in there. Maybe you want to put some vegetables. Maybe you want to put both in there. And this is a time of the year I wanted to mention, we've spent weeks now, and we've planted our gardens, we've transplanted our tomato plants, everything's looking good. You need to spend a little time each week, one day a week, maybe not one day, but an hour or something, and go around and check your gardens. You need to make sure that you're, turn the sprinkler on, make sure they're all working, make sure they're not clogged up or you haven't hit one when you're mowing.
Oh, I've done that.
I've done that too.
Oh.
And you don't know it sometimes, and then you go out there and the sprinkler's on and you got a great big Old Faithful in the middle of your lawn. So you got to fix those.
Absolutely. 15 seconds to our first break.
Oh, really?
Actually, our only break.
So
our first break.
Okay. So you want to check those things. Maybe you got one tomato plant that looks like it's dying.
Yep. Stay with us, folks.
Okay.
We have more on the way.
All right. Here we go.
I'm Elliot Forrest, and
Tune in for Reveal from the Center for Investigative Reporting, Saturdays at 9 a.m. on Radio St. George 100.3 FM.
We now return to The Garden Show with Artie and Woody.
All right, folks, we are back from the break. It's the Fun and Garden Show on Radio St. George 100.3, broadcasting from Dixie State University every Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. That's when the show is live. We're also on Facebook and YouTube, and you can call us at 435-879-4100, 435-879-4100. We want to thank Sean Denovan here at Dixie State University for allowing us to do this show. Fundandgarden.com is our website. Tell us about the website once again.
Oh, we love it. It's great. We've been working on it and theorizing about it for 3 or 4 months, and it's finally up and going.
So that's a great way to interact with us.
It is. There's a place at the bottom of each of our posts where you can type in your question, and we'll either get back to you during the week or we'll answer it on the show.
So fundandgarden.com.
.com.
All right.
And it's got some pretty pictures on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
I wanted to cover one issue with the containers. You know, you build a container, you put the dirt in. Now, what do you do if you want to put some tomatoes or some plants and you want to put some succulents in there? You know, maybe that's what the look you want. Well, you can't do that because you can't water the succulents as much as you water the tomatoes or the flowers.
Okay.
So you got to put kind of the same thing in that from one end to another that needs the same amount of sun, that needs the same amount of water. So that's kind of a drawback.
Or you could put in barriers. Would that work at all or no? Or?
You know, Artie, see how intelligent you are?
Oh.
I had an idea. I was reading about all these, plastic and that you put in.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, you know what? If you really wanted a container to have that look of the wood and everything, build the container and then put in plastic pots inside.
Oh, that's a great idea.
If you went over to Walmart or Lowe's or someplace and you bought especially some square plastic pots, which are inexpensive, $10, $12 a piece, and you made your planter box depth-wise and width-wise to fit those pots, you could put 3 or 4 end-to-end inside the container.
Oh, yeah.
And you could have succulents in one, a tomato in another, flowers in another, whatever you want, and you could water them differently and treat them differently, and they'd all be successful.
Huh.
Plus, you wouldn't have the wear and tear on the container like when it's soaking up water and things.
That's a great idea.
Because it would come out the bottom, you know. In fact, now that I think about it, you wouldn't even have to have a bottom in it. You could have just the sides wood and have the pot sitting on the cement and have the container go over them like an envelope. And it'll work great.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Man, I am really intelligent today.
That's a great idea.
See how sharp I am when I get some sleep?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wait a minute, I got to take some of my medicine.
What's your medicine? What are you doing over there?
It's Diet Coke.
Diet Coke.
Yeah, Coke is it. Do you have your medicine today?
I have my medicine. It's Diet Mountain Dew.
Oh no,
mixed with a little bit of beef gravy.
Now Diet Mountain Dew. You have to be over 21 to buy that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's dangerous stuff. Yeah,
it's.
So anyway,
well, it's legal now because BYU. You know.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, they now serve caffeinated beverages on the BYU campus, so it's now legal.
They lowered their standards.
They have.
Oh, good. Well, so anyway, with the containers, that's maybe a good idea, I think, to use the pots inside.
Yeah, okay.
You add a little expense to it, but boy, it'd work out really well if you wanted to have different kinds of plants, you know, from one end to the other. And I was talking a little bit about our gardens. So this time of year, after a couple of months of working them and getting them set up and planting the plants. And my tomatoes are growing. They're about 2.5 foot tall now, and they have tomatoes on them. In fact, I picked a couple of red ones yesterday.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Huh.
So it's bacon and tomato for lunch today, Artie.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a time to watch your sprinklers, turn them on, put them on the manual setting, turn them on, and watch them go through and make sure that they're dripping as much as you want them to drip or not too much. You adjust them, and you want to watch for maybe, like I said before, you've got 8 or 10 tomato plants and one of them doesn't look good. There's something wrong with it. Maybe it's got a horned caterpillar on it eating the leaves, or maybe the sprinkler's plugged or whatever. And then it's a good time of the year and the season before it gets too hot. You can take your little shovel and you can dig a trench around the tomato plant about 4 or 5 inches out, and you can put some manure. You wanted to use manure, Artie. Here it's time to do it.
So what?
Put a little manure in that trench.
Okay.
And then put the dirt back over it and water your tomato. You don't want it so close that it goes right down on the roots, because manure is really hot fertilizer. But it'll give them a shot. It'll really give them a shot. But you want to kind of dig it in and have it out a little bit from the tomato plant, just so that as you water, it soaks down to the roots.
Okay.
Okay. And I would
Would you use manure for everything, like flowers or just tomatoes or vegetables or what?
Mostly tomatoes and vegetables.
Really?
And I don't even use it for that. I use Miracle-Gro. I use the plant food. And
now what's the benefits of Miracle-Gro versus manure?
well, it's more balanced. Manure is strong in some elements and not so strong in others. And Miracle-Gro is balanced, and Miracle-Gro is safer to use. It's not going to burn your plants.
Okay.
And you can do it one of two ways. You can use your hose end sprayer and just spray the soil at the bottom of the plant. With tomatoes, you don't want to spray the leaves a lot. Like you would a flower, you just drench the plant. But with tomatoes, you would aim the sprayer so it gets the bottom of the soil around the tomato, but not the tomato plant, okay?
Now, how often do you apply Miracle-Gro?
I about once every 3 weeks.
Really?
Yeah. And it does a great job. It really is a good product, and it feeds the tomatoes. It gives them what they need, and so on. Another thing to watch for is having blossoms come on your tomatoes and then not setting. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. You want to get a bottle of that tomato set over at Star Nursery, and you just turn the little nozzle to where it's a spray, and you spritz the little yellow blossoms on the tomatoes. Or the other way you can do the same thing is to buy some bone meal and put around the bottom of the tomatoes and mix it with the soil and water it in. Both of them are calcium, and calcium makes the tomatoes, you can use it on cucumbers and on squash, and it makes the flower set and turn into the vegetable.
Is bone meal more expensive?
It is a little bit, because you use it more by volume, and with the tomato set, it's just a spritz and you're done. So I've had a bottle of that tomato set, and I used it last month of last year, and I'm still using it, and it's about half full. So it's something. I guess the point I'm making is you need to do maintenance on some of this stuff.
Yeah.
You can't just get it set up and then leave it and expect it to do well.
Okay.
The other thing you have to watch for, I know in my yard I'm having trouble with animals coming in at night. I think it's a skunk, and they come in at night and they dig in the gardens.
Really?
Yeah, they're after grubs. If you have earthworms or the white grubs in your soil,
Okay.
they'll come and they smell them and they dig it up and eat the grub or the earthworm.
Huh.
And it can really destroy your garden.
So how do you know it's a skunk? It
Well,
could be a raccoon or
Well, yeah, it could. It could. Cats can be a problem. Cats will wild cats, feral cats they call them. They'll come into your yard at night, and like I have a great big coreopsis plant in my front garden, and I've got a cat that goes in there every night, gets right in the middle of it, and sleeps, makes a bed.
Huh.
And he flattens out all my plants.
Oh.
He doesn't eat them. He doesn't dig holes, but he flattens them out. Dogs will do the same thing. And so I had to take some of this green material they sell to tie up your plants.
Okay.
And I had to get them all gathered up and put a couple of ties around them so that he can't get in there and
Protect
sit
them.
on them. Yeah.
Huh.
And I'm not being offensive to cats.
No, I understand. Now, birds. Yeah, birds can be a
Birds-
problem.
They can be a problem. They're finches, which are like a small sparrow. They'll eat some of your plants.
Really?
Yeah, they'll come down every time you walk out your door. If little birds fly out of your garden, they're eating the leaves on your plants. My neighbor Mike had planted some beautiful dahlias, and the finches came in about 3 or 4 days. They ate them right down to the
Oh,
ground.
my goodness.
So they're one of the birds that'll eat on the plants. Not too many of them do, but the finches will. So it's like on one hand, you want them to be in your backyard, you want them at your feeders, and on the other hand, you don't want them to destroy your plants. So one of the other animals that can be a problem are rabbits.
Rabbits, huh?
Rabbits will get in and eat your garden down, and also ducks.
How about frogs?
Frogs,
Because I think I heard a frog the other day.
did you?
Yeah.
You're
I'm not
watering
sure.
your lawn too much again, Artie. You got the frogs back.
It's like, where did that come from?
You know,
What the heck is that?
Artie, here's how you know if you're watering too much.
Uh-huh.
If you need a canoe to get your newspaper in the morning, you're watering too much.
Frogs. huh?
Artie's never met a gallon of water he didn't want to put on his lawn.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So let's see. Where were we?
Everything I plant just dies.
Just dies.
yeah.
I have a green thumb. You have a brown thumb.
Oh, my gosh.
yeah,
That's the truth.
It's awful.
Now, going back to the planters, what are some other ideas as far as if you don't want to do wood, if you don't want to do cinder blocks? I've seen people actually, use tires. Like they.
Yeah, you can.
Some
You can-
people use tires. They turn them inside out. Is that?
No, not a regular car tire. You'd never be able to do it. Since they're steel belted radials, you can't do that. But
What are they using?
They use, they'll stack them sometimes and fill them with dirt. One of the things that I've seen done that looked really well or really good are cinder blocks, and they stack them and then they fill the cells in the the
Okay.
opening.
Yeah.
They'll put soil down in there, and then they'll put something like vinca or primrose or some small plant in there, and let them grow, and it looks really neat.
That's an idea.
If you can put them in like a pyramid shape, or you can put them in a rectangle shape, or
That's an idea.
yeah, it really works well. And another thing that you can do this time of the year, I had a pot, a house plant in by my desk, and I put it outside yesterday because the temperature at night and that is such that a house plant can be outside now. And it's good for them to have a little fresh air and to be outside. They're kind of like kids when you raise them. They need to play outside sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But don't put a house plant in the direct sun all day. that much sun will kill it.
Okay, so well, hold on. I have a question then. I had some cactus. I actually broke down and bought some cactus.
Uh-oh.
And I put it on my front porch. And my front porch, I think, faces
It faces north.
Yeah, it faces north. Wasn't get a lot of sunlight, so I put it on my porch and back, and of course my cats, ate it and urinated on it.
No.
So, but my cats love to mark their territory. So but I also like to mark my territory as well. So there goes the cactus plant.
That's why the lawn chair ladies out there, I guess.
Okay, so going back to my cactus, so it's on the south side, so it's getting plenty of sunshine. But how much is too much?
Well, that's the thing. I think you want 2 or 3 hours a day at the most on succulents. I've got a kind of a little garden of succulents that I have on a little table out by my patio, and I've got them so they get a couple hours a day. That's it.
And then you just bring them in, or you shade them, or what?
No, then once a week I water them.
Okay,
just once a week, and they get a couple hours of sun, and they seem to be doing really well. Like I said before, the problem with succulents is that you probably give them too much care. You take too good of care, and they'll die. The less care you give them, the better they do.
Really?
Okay? Yeah. Huh. So if you want cactus, I'd put them in the sun, but only part sun.
No kidding. Not direct sunlight.
Yeah. How is your Mexican feathergrass doing?
They're actually doing
those,
really well. Yeah.
They're great.
I planted three initially,
and then you've got 3 more? Or 4?
Yeah, actually, I went crazy. So and they were on sale at Star.
You're gonna.
Those are probably gonna die because
they're gonna do good. They're tough.
I can't plant things.
They're really tough. You probably. I hate to make a prediction, but I don't think you're going to be able to kill those.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, you're going to have those next year at this time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, they look kind of cool.
Wouldn't that be exciting? So, anyway, and the stuff like crepe myrtle is coming out right now, and my hibiscus from last year come up all of a sudden.
No kidding.
The hibiscus are kind of a tropical thing, so you have to cut them down to the ground and cover them with bark or soil for the winter so the roots don't freeze. And then about this time of year when the ground starts to get warm, here they come back up. And I'll take some pictures and put on our website when they start blooming.
Yeah.
I had one day last year I went out, and this hibiscus I'm thinking of is my largest one that I have. It's about 3 feet across and about 3 feet high. And it had about 14 big blossoms all on one day.
Oh, wow.
And they were dark velvet red. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I had to cut down part of my eastern redbud because it sunburned and died. So
it did.
Yeah, it even happens to me, Artie. Yeah, it had it, and I felt bad. I mean, the trunk was 6 inches around. It was a nice, tree. And
now, you gave me some paint, some latex paint.
Yeah, have you used it yet?
I haven't got to
Tell
it yet.
the truth.
I'll do it today.
Okay.
So that the white latex paint on the tree
west side,
that's sunburn, that's going to help protect it from being.
It reflects the sun.
Okay.
And it keeps it from getting so hot. That's that, and wrapping it. There is one other method you can use, and that is to, the little suckers that come out on the trunk.
Yeah.
You can let those grow, and they'll shade the trunk.
They will?
Yeah. And then after the tree is 3 or 4 years down the road, you can cut those off when the bark gets thick enough that the sun won't bother it anymore. But I don't like the looks of it.
No, I don't.
I
don't either.
The suckers, all out. So anyway, And we're almost to the time of year where we're going to have to turn your sprinklers up a little bit.
No kidding.
Yeah, from 5 minutes to 7 or 8 minutes. And have you mowed your lawn this year?
I've mowed it a couple times.
Yeah.
and I learned something from you. I was worried that I didn't have a catcher on my lawnmower, and I was really worried about that. But you told me that actually,
Does the lawn good?
yeah, it's kind of a mulch.
If you
The
use
clippings help out.
if you use a mulching blade, yeah.
So I have to get a special blade.
Well, your mower's probably
heck?
got a mulching blade on it.
I think so.
Yeah. When you mow, one of the things about mulching, and I'll warn you because with you it's an issue, if you let your lawn get too long to begin with, it has a hard time cutting the grass down to a 1/4 inch. So you need to mow a little more often.
Yeah,
But you don't have to pick up the grass.
Well, I had to go over it a couple times because
Yeah.
it was so long.
Yeah.
So.
And you don't want to let that happen. You need to mow about every 4 or 5 days.
I cleaned out my my garage, and I finally found my lawn
Catcher.
catcher.
The grass catcher.
Yeah, so grass.
Did you find any people in there? Or
Oh my gosh!
any cats?
I have a family of cats living in the mulcher
Oh.
or in the lawn.
The grass catcher?
Grass catcher.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't bother them. I'd leave them just where they are. Badgers or wolverines, you have to worry about. Cats are usually okay.
All right, so we have 4 minutes left to the show.
Okay.
Let's give the folks their money's worth.
Okay. I want to mention, if we go back to the containers, there are ways now that you can make containers look really good. Some people buy all of one color container
Okay.
and maybe put it together in a shape or a display. Other people buy different colors. Some people want to match, like I try to match the terracotta tile on the roof of my house,
Yeah.
kind of a reddish orange. You can do all kinds of things, and there's an article here that says you can actually grow tomatoes inside your house. I don't think you could do that without a south window with some sun, or you can buy lights that give off a full spectrum of sunlight if you wanted to do something like that inside. There are a lot of different things you can do with containers, be they ceramic or wood or whatever. It's your imagination. Usually people go to containers because they have limited space in their yard.
Okay.
It boils down to that. Okay.
Or just the convenience of convenience and ease of the fact that it's a little bit more accessible.
It's more accessible, and you can move it. If the sun moves around to where the container's not getting any sun, you can move the container.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really big issue. And one other reminder, as long as we've only got a couple of minutes, and that's when we have these big storms in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Turn off your sprinklers.
Really?
Everybody, save the water, save your money, especially. My sprinklers have been off now for 3 days because of that storm we had on Thursday, and I'm not planning on turning them back on until tomorrow.
Really?
So when we have a storm like that, it soaks the soil down 6-8 inches, and so that's got to dry out before you turn your sprinklers back on.
Makes sense.
So
Makes sense.
that water that falls from the sky is a lot cheaper than the water you get from the city.
That's true.
Yeah, it is.
Well, we have 60 seconds. What are we going to be talking about on future shows?
We're going to cover a bunch of different subjects. I want to cover. It's almost time for my blackberries to be harvested.
So Blackberry Chat is the show.
We're going to talk about when do you harvest them. We maybe even I'll talk to my wife about getting recipes for things like blackberry jam.
Oh, okay.
And we'll maybe get into the cooking issue a little bit for squash,
Jelly
and
chat.
tomatoes, and cooking and so on. Okay. And I hear the music coming, and that means
about
that
20 seconds.
20 seconds.
Yep.
Well, I did want to mention that you look awfully good today, Artie.
Well, right back at you.
Thanks. It's hard to be this good looking.
It's the Fun and Guard Show with Woody and Artie. Thank you for listening, folks. Jump on our website, Wait, what is it?
Funandgarden.com.
There you go.
Thanks to Scotty.
All right. Well,
You've been listening to The Garden Show. For audio and or video of this show, go to Facebook or YouTube, Spotify or Podbean,